Welcome back, guys. So in endocrine physiology, following our discussion on pituitary gland, the next endocrine gland is thyroid gland. Anatomically, thyroid gland is very important. You will encounter it in most of the subjects, be it your physiology, your anatomy, your surgery, radio, your medicine and your pathology. Everywhere, everyone will talk about importance of thyroid gland. So with this important note, let's talk about thyroid gland. So what are the hormones produced by thyroid gland, sir? So the hormones produced by thyroid gland are, the first group is our thyroid hormones T3 and T4. So our thyroid hormones T3 and T4 are produced by the follicular cells in thyroid gland. The second group of hormones produced by thyroid gland are calcitonin and produced by the parafollicular C cells. Here para means near and follicular means follicular cells. So in location they are near to follicular cells. C4 because they produce calcitonin, that's why C cells. So thyroid gland produces two groups of hormone. First is thyroid hormone T3 and T4 which is produced by the follicular cells, and the second one is calcitonin which is produced by the parafollicular C cells. So with this important note, now we will talk about the follicular cells and synthesis of thyroid hormone T3 and T4. So we require two components for the synthesis of thyroid hormone. What are those two components, sir? The first one is our tyrosine amino acid. From where we will get this, sir? We will get this from one very big globulin. The name is thyroglobulin. Tyrosine amino acid, the source is thyroglobulin. Second component, sir, are iodine supplied by diet in the form of iodide. Why only iodide, sir? Because this is the only form of iodine can be utilized, can be absorbed by our body. Now, sir, this should be in iodide form, which is also known as reduced form of iodine. So this tyrosine and iodine utilized by follicular cells, and there is synthesis of T3, T4 or thyroid hormone, and then they are reserved, they are stored in the form of colloid in follicular cells. With this important note, sir, see here, very important. This is one typical follicular cell. This is the blood vessel. The end of follicular cell which is close to blood vessel is known as basolateral end. The end of follicular cell which is away from blood vessel is known as apical end. Why this is important, sir? Because on the both the hands we have certain transport proteins channels. That's why this is very important to know. Now see, sir, we know the iodine in iodide form. So this iodide is here in our blood vessel, in our blood. So we need to transport this in our follicular cells. So what to do, sir? Now we transport this here in our follicular cells. So this is our iodide, still in reduced form. Very important. Something also come will inside with the iodide form, that is our sodium, sir. So our iodide now coming inside our follicular cells along with sodium. What is the name of this transport channel, this transport protein, sir? Since both sodium and iodide coming in one side, so sodium iodide symport, sir, also known as co-transport. So very important, sir, this type of transport is also known as secondary active transport, sir. Now see here, sir, this iodide is still in reduced form, and the form of iodine which can be used for the hormone synthesis is oxidized form, sir. So what to do, sir? So our follicular cell will immediately throw this iodide outside. So this is the iodide thrown out by our follicular cell. Now, sir, to maintain the electrical difference, something will come inside. What is that? This is our chloride, sir. So iodide is going out, chloride is coming in. So what is the name of this channel, sir? Since both iodide and chloride, they are exchanging, they are going in opposite direction. So this is our iodide chloride antipode, sir. Now, sir, the iodide is outside but still in reduced form. Now what to do, sir? We require something which can convert this reduced form in the oxidized form. So for that purpose we see here, this is something very important, TPO, thyroid peroxidase. This is one membrane enzyme. This will convert this reduced form of iodide into oxidized form, which can be used for hormone synthesis. With this important note, as we discuss about TPO, thyroid peroxidase, which is one cell membrane bound protein and which help in conversion of iodide form of iodine into the oxidized form, right? So what is the importance of TPO? So TPO is very important from pathology point of view, because in patients with hyperthyroidism, when there is excess of T3 and T4 or thyroid hormone, we use something called TPO blockers. Why, sir? Because TPO converts iodide form in the oxidized form, only form used in hormone synthesis. If we will block TPO, there will be no oxidized form, so there is no synthesis of further for thyroid hormones, so automatically the level of thyroid hormone will come down, right? So we use TPO blockers, also called antithyroid medicines, which decrease T3 and T4. So the antithyroid medicine, the TPO blockers are PTU, propyl thiouracil, or carbimazole and methimazole, right? Now see, we discussed that on the basolateral end of follicular cell we have something called sodium iodide symporter, right, which is also known as co-transport, right? So apart from thyroid gland in follicular cells, this is also found on our parotid glands, our mammary glands and placenta, right? So one very important, sir, very important, that excess of iodide always inhibits T3 and T4 synthesis, right? Excess of iodide always inhibits T3 and T4 synthesis through one effect called as Wolff-Chaikoff effect. You can pronounce it this Wolff or Wolff-Chaikoff effect. Through this effect, whenever there is excess iodide, that inhibits the T3 and T4, the synthesis of our thyroid hormones, right? Now see, when our iodine, the oxidized form, couple with tyrosine, so this is known as coupling reaction. So our oxidized form of iodine couples with tyrosine, right, and they form something called as MIT, monoiodotyrosinase, right? Oxidized form of iodide or iodine couples with tyrosine and form MIT, monoiodotyrosinase. Now when one MIT couple with another MIT, what they will form, sir? They will form DIT, diiodotyrosine, right? And now when one MIT with couple with one DIT, they will form something called, very important, T3, or active thyroid hormone, right? Now when one DIT will couple with DIT, they will form T4. So oxidized form of iodine couples with tyrosine form MIT. Now when MIT couple with another MIT and form DIT. Now when MIT and DIT form T3, the active form. Now two DIT couple with each other and form T4. So this is one natural process. Now see, in some conditions, when DIT couple with MIT, when MIT couple with DIT, what forms? T3, active form. Now when one DIT will couple with MIT, this will form reverse T3, also known as RT3. So this will form reverse T3, which is one inactive form, right? So see here, as we discussed earlier, that when there is T3 and T4 synthesized from follicular cells, they are stored in the form of colloids, right? And they reserve there for 2 to 3 months. So whenever there is need of hormones, there is process that will break these colloids and there will be release of hormones, right? Now very important, sir, as we discussed that on the apical end we have iodide, chloride, antipode, right? So apart from thyroid gland, we also have this antipode in inner ear, right? One we have in thyroid gland and the second one is inner ear. Now suppose if there is mutation of this iodide chloride antipode, if there is mutation of this, what will happen? There will be enlarged thyroid gland known as goiter. And in inner ears, what will happen, sir? There will be SNHL, sensory neural hearing loss, right? So when there is mutation of iodide chloride antipode, there will be enlarged thyroid gland which is known as goiter, and in inner ear there will be sensory neural hearing loss. And these symptoms, what is this syndrome called, sir? This syndrome is known as, very important, the Pendred syndrome, right? Because of the mutation in the iodide and chloride antipode, the thyroid gland will enlarge, known as goiter, inner ear also, so there will be sensory neural hearing loss, and this syndrome is known as Pendred, or you can call this Pendred syndrome. That's why, sir, this channel, iodide and chloride channel, because of this Pendred syndrome, also known as Pendrin. So the another name of iodide chloride antipode channel is Pendrin. So with this important note, now the thyroid hormone is in our blood vessels. As we already discussed that on the synthesis, our thyroid hormone is stored in the form of colloids in our auricular cells, and when there is need, the colloid will break and the hormone will release, right? So now the hormone in the form of T3 and T4 is in our blood vessels, but only 1% of this hormone is in free form. What is that mean of free form, sir? The mean is only 1% of the hormone which is in free form is the active form of hormone, right? Rest 99% of hormone which binds with some proteins known as binding proteins is known as bound hormone, the bound form of thyroid hormone. So now, what are those proteins which bind the bound hormone? So they are 3 in number. The first one is albumin. The second one is TBG, thyroid binding globulin, and the third one very specific name, transthyretin, right, which is common for binding of T3, T4 and vitamin A. How to remember this, sir? Transthyretin, this thigh means thyroid hormone, this bind with the thyroid hormone T3 and T4. Now see this retin, what is the chemical name of vitamin A, sir? Retinol. So this bind with vitamin A, also known as prealbumin. Now your examiner can ask, out of these 3, which one is most important for thyroid hormone? So the answer is TBG, thyroid binding globulin. Why, sir? Because TBG has the highest affinity for thyroid hormone, 70% binding affinity. Then albumin 20% and transthyretin 10%. So now the thyroid hormone is in blood, 1% is in free form, 99% is in bound form. So there are 3 proteins which are available to bind with the thyroid hormone known as binding protein. The most important is our TBG, which bind with 70% of the hormone. The second one is our albumin, and the third one is transthyretin, Along with thyroid hormone T3 and T4, this also bind with vitamin A and also known as with the another name pre-albumin. So now with this important note, so now we will see the regulation of thyroid hormones. So here is our anterior pituitary, the master gland. Here is our hypothalamus, the leader of anterior pituitary, and here is our today's hero, the thyroid gland. So our hypothalamus will release something called as TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone. And this thyrotropin releasing hormone will act on anterior pituitary, and anterior pituitary will release something called as TSH, right? The TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. When then TSH will work on our thyroid gland. At the same time, this will also increase the vascularity. There will be increase in vascularity when the thyroid stimulating hormone TSH will act on thyroid gland. Also there is increase in iodine trapping. Why, sir? Because for the synthesis of hormone we required more blood, more supply of blood, more supply and more trapping of iodine. That's why there is increase in vascularity and iodine trapping, and that's why there is increase in T3 and T4 thyroid hormone synthesis, right? So hypothalamus release something called TRH that act on anterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary in response what release? It release TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. Then this will stimulate our thyroid glands and there will be synthesis of our T3 and T4. Now very important, sir, as we know that endocrine system is the classical example of negative feedback control. So out of T3 and T4, T3, sir, this is the responsible for most of negative feedback control for thyroid hormone synthesis. So with this important note, now we will see the receptors and transporters of thyroid hormone. So our T3 and T4, where they act, sir? Can they cross the plasma membrane, sir? Yes? No? No. Our thyroid hormone T3 and T4, they cannot cross the plasma membrane. So they use certain plasma membrane transporters to go inside. So what are those transporters, sir? So those transporters are, the first one is our MCT, monocarboxylase transporter. The second one is OATP, organic anion transporting polypeptide. So thyroid hormones cannot cross the plasma membrane. That's why use certain membrane transporters. The first one is MCT, very important, and the second one is OATP, right? Now, sir, using these transporters, the thyroid hormone is there inside. Now what, sir? How they will act? What are the receptors? So our T3 and T4, the thyroid hormone, they act through direct nuclear receptors, sir. Very, very important for exam. So the receptors for the action of our thyroid hormone are direct nuclear receptors. So with this important note, we will see the comparison of T3 and T4. Very important, sir. Again, very important for exams. So our T3 is the most potent and most active form of thyroid hormone, right? The most potent and most active form of thyroid hormone is our T3. Now see here, sir, our T4, just opposite of T3, is less potent and less active form. Also see here, sir, T3 is the rapid onset of action and also with short half-life, whereas the T4 having this slow onset of action and long half-life. Very important, sir, keep this in mind. We will come again. Now see here, very important, T3, the most potent, is less in circulation. So how to remember this? Something which is most potent means required less. If required less, so obviously that will be less in the circulation also. That's why this is less in circulation. Whereas our T4, which is less potent, is more in circulation. See here, sir, right? Now this is also less in colloid, whereas the T4 is more in colloid. Now very important, sir, the form of thyroid hormone responsible for physiological action is our T3. T3 is responsible for physiological actions. On the other hand, sir, the form of thyroid hormone responsible and important for pharmacological actions. These are T4. Why, sir? See here, we discussed it has the long half-life, so very easy to monitor in therapies. That's why this is very important for pharmacological actions. So with this important note, now we will see the functions of thyroid hormone, functions of T3. Why only T3, sir? Because T3 is the only form of thyroid hormone responsible for physiological actions. So what are the functions of T3, sir? So the first function of T3 is something called as BMR. It regulates the BMR, basal metabolic rate as rest. So it regulates the resting metabolic rate, sir. Now the second function of T3 is in electron transport chain. And what is that, sir? Here T3 acts as physiological uncoupler. We have physiological uncouplers in transport chain that uncouple the transport chain from ATP synthesis to heat production, sir. That's why there is more body heat. So this function of T3 thyroid hormone is thermogenic action, sir. The first function is regulate the BMR. The second one is thermogenic action. That's why, sir, in persons with hypothyroidism means there is less T3, right? That's why when there is less T3, so less physiological uncoupling of transport chain. That's why there is more ATP synthesis and less heat production. That's why the patient present with cold intolerance. Very important, sir. In person with hyperthyroidism, when there is more T3, more uncoupling, more heat production from ATP, that's why patient comes with heat intolerance, right? Very important. Now, sir, the third function of thyroid hormone is in metabolism. Why? Because T3 is the universal catabolic hormone. Very important, sir, for exam. So T3 is the universal catabolic hormone. So when it regulates the carbohydrate metabolism, there will be increase in blood glucose levels, sir. When it acts in the lipid metabolism, there will be lipolysis, increase in free fatty acids, sir. When this will act in the protein metabolism, there will be something called proteolysis. So very important, sir. See here, our thyroid hormone T3 also regulates the cholesterol metabolism, and very important, this decrease the cholesterol. So see, pathological point of view, patient with hypothyroidism means less T3, and what is the function of thyroid hormone in cholesterol metabolism? Is decrease the cholesterol. So person with hypothyroidism means less T3. Less T3 means increase in cholesterol. So we call something called as hypercholesterolemia. So hypercholesterolemia. So patient with hypothyroidism have less T3. That's why there is increase in cholesterol. That's why they are at the risk to develop hypercholesterolemia. That's why there is the higher risk of heart disease. So see here, sir, the functions of T3. The first function is it regulates the BMR, resting metabolic rate. The second function is the thermogenic action. The third one is action in metabolism, and very important, it decreases the cholesterol, right? So in patient with hypothyroidism, there is less T3, less thyroid hormone. That's why there is increase in cholesterol, known as hypercholesterolemia. That's why these patients are prone to develop heart disease. So with this important note, the other functions of thyroid hormone is developmental role. How, sir? So thyroid hormone promotes brain growth. It increases the myelination throughout the CNS, sir. Not only that, sir, it also promotes the bone growth. That's why in conditions like congenital hypothyroidism, due to absence of thyroid hormone, the child develops something very specific called mental retardation. Why, sir? Because no proper brain growth, that's why develop mental retardation. Also, there is no proper bone growth, that's why the child develop stunted growth. Now, sir, the next function of thyroid hormone is on this very beautiful organ. This is your heart. So, how, sir? So, thyroid hormone increase the responsiveness of heart to catecholamines. That is our norepinephrine. How, sir? Via the beta receptors. So, that's why there is increase in heart rate and myocardial contractility. So, very important, sir. In patient with hyperthyroidism, they can land up in something very urgent and something called emergency known as thyroid storm, sir. Why, sir? More thyroid hormone, right? That will increase the responsiveness of heart to norepinephrine via beta receptors. That's why there will be increase in heart rate and myocardial contractility, and the patient will develop thyroid storm. This is one state of emergency, sir. So in thyroid patient we treat with propranolol. Why, sir? Because this is one beta blocker, so we will block this beta receptor. That's why we can reduce the action of thyroid hormone. So propranolol is the treatment for thyroid storm. So with this important note, so thank you so much for listening, and please do subscribe the channel and give your important feedback in the comment section. Stay safe, stay happy, study a lot. Thank you so much. Have a great day.